just so much fun to talk to. Do you have any other interesting stories about Bob McTavish?
I got a lot of them, but one of my favorite ones, we were out shaping in Japan. We both used to go over there at a time, and we ran into each other. I don't remember, probably in Chiba in the street or something like that. And he's got a big old smile, and I got a big. We always smile. We're pretty happy people, and I go, "Oh, Bob, man, I love seeing you, man. You always got such a big smile and everything." He goes, "Why wouldn't we smile? We're toy makers, you know?" And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, we're making toys for old people. And so what better job could you have? You just like, he's stoked all the time, Bob.
Yeah.
Greatest guy you want to meet.
You know, and one of the things about Bob that I think is true of you too is that you guys are forward thinking. In other words, you're not really kind of dwelling in the past, so to speak. You're constantly moving forward. And one of the examples of that with you are these agave surfboard blanks, which you've been building for quite a long time. Can you give me some insight into, because you're going to be making me an agave surfboard. I've asked you to make me a board. And what like, first of all, what is agave? Maybe tell the listeners a little bit of backstory about agave itself.
Well, agave, everybody hears agave now. It's popular because they know that's where tequila comes from. But actually, it's like there's about 26, 28 varieties of agave. I don't know how many they are, but they're a desert plant that has a big stalk that grows up. And that is, the leaves that come out in conical leaves that are like this. And that's the moisture of the night air filters down to the roots, and then from that roots the stalk goes up. And the pollination is, the flowers are way up in the air so that the wind can carry the thing. So that's the basics of the plant. But the one we use is California. Yeah, I don't remember. It's a California, but there's various types. But they call it the century plant.
They've changed their tune.
Here's the class. He never really rode arrows, but see, Vince was a Joey Thomas guy, and there's a lot of Joey Thomas guys, and they're out riding his boards. But Vince is classic because Vince, myself, and Richard Schmidt, we were all born in 1960, 3 days apart. I think Vince's birthday was the 10th, Richard's the 12th, mine's the 13th. Anyway, we're all the same age. So Vince was a JT guy, and Vince was gnarly on everybody, including myself. I think I dropped in on his girlfriend one time, and he wanted to punch me out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, bro, whatever." But at the time when Bob was teaching me how to shape boards, Vince really, really, really wanted to start shaping his own boards, and JT would have nothing to do with it. He was like, "No dice, dude. You're on my boards or you're out here." So Vince and I became friends. Because he was like, "So what's Bob teaching you? So how are you using your planer? How are you turning the rails? So we kind of had this really cool line of communication going. And I actually I took him up to Ocean Beach. It might've been for the first time because I knew in the fall time when Ocean Beach was lighting up. So I was like, "Dude, be flat in Santa Cruz." And I was like, "Ocean Beach is 4 to 6 foot. We need to go up there. It's offshore. It's good." So we would do these little surf missions, and we would go down south, but we would always talk about shaping, always talk about it. And finally, Vince made the break. And he started making his own board. So that was kind of a funny little thing, super flamboyant, character, classic character. So,
and do you think that I know that there was a definite east side, west side divide. There was like the Pleasure Point scene and the west side scene, including Steamer and all the little spots up north, just north of there. But
yeah.
Does that divide still exist today, or is there more of a homogenization of that?
It's funny that it exists in the minds of the older people, and it exists in the minds of the younger people that are emulating the older people. But by and large, it is fluid, man. It's everybody's kind of moving and stuff. It's just kind of the established guys at the established spots. You see guys at Stockton, you see guys at Seward Beach.
But yeah, I got into the pro class trials, and one glorious time, it was the first year that there were thrusters. I had Al Merrick's first thruster.
Yeah.
A 6.4, because I was part of the whole Channel Islands mojo back then. And he made a 7.4 thruster that at the time was one of the only 7.4s that was ridden at Sunset Beach. And this is what's kind of funny. There was only one of them. So me, Willie Morris, and Sean Thompson, world champion, we all shared that board. We would trade off in heats because everyone else was a little wary of thrusters. They were mostly riding single fins. Well, Al made a 7.4 thruster, and yeah, so we all shared that board. And the waves were small for the first few rounds, and I surfed my new Almeric thruster at Sunset Point, and I got to basically the quarters of the pro class trials surfing, 6 to 8 foot Sunset Point.
Yeah.
But then the next day it was, 10 to 12 to 15 foot sunset. And I wrote about this years ago. I had Willie Morris as my caddy. And I'm out there, and my first wave, because I'd never ridden a thruster in big waves. And so when I dropped in on a big sunset wave, I moved forward, my foot forward, and leaned into the turn. The board tracked. I fell on my face and just took a brutal thrashing. Okay.
Ooh.
But I caught 2 pretty decent waves. Apparently, all I needed was one more, and I would have got through to the semis, and that would have meant that I would have been in the other contest. Which ultimately I realized I had no business being in those other contests. But I was out there. Actually, I should have written about this in the book.
There's book number 2, I'm telling you.
I'm sitting out there in the lineup with like Ken Bradshaw and, Carrie Terrakina or somebody. And this big giant West Peak sunset wave comes looming in. And I am, like I said, I was reduced to that 12-year-old kid. I started paddling outside as fast as I could. Willie, who was much younger than me, but he was a really good sunset surfer.
Yeah.
He starts yelling at me, Sam, stop. It's not going to break. Stop. Take it. It's not going to break. And it was like getting slapped in the face. I realized, oh my God, it's not going to break. I could catch this. I spun around and I paddled as hard as I could. And I missed it. I couldn't get into it because you know how hard it is to catch waves at sunset.
Yeah.
I missed the wave. And apparently on the beach, the commentator's going, well, there you go. No guts, no glory. Okay? Just humiliated.
Oh,
I didn't
man.
get through the heat. I think Ken Bradshaw won it. But what I realized was that would have qualified me for whatever the next contest was that was held at Waimea Bay. There was no way. And
it spans the gamut, but I think it's probably better than being so restrained where it was like, God forbid you ever say anything critical about a great pro surfer, because we all look up to them and you can't do that,
Well, you bring up a great point, and that is this concept of surf journalism. I think that journalism, and in its healthiest form, investigates and asks tough questions. And I'm wondering if surf journalism is actually a thing. Does it exist? Or are we still so incestuous and so selfish that we're protecting our own interests from the truth? And for example, like there's stories out there, and I'm not even going to mention names. You know who they are. And this is a great example right here. I'm afraid to mention the name of a person because I don't need the drama. I don't need somebody going on Instagram going, oh, and so in that light, is surf journalism still a thing?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think it's there. I do a lot of work. Having written for sort of so many of the publications over the years, when going from print to the digital of today. Interestingly, like some of the earliest pieces I did, one of the early journalism pieces I did where I kind of realized what this was do a Q&A of Wayne Lynch, which went in the Surfer's Journal in the first year or two that the Surfer's Journal came out. I think it was 93, so it was 30 years ago. And I continued to work with the Surfer's Journal, and I think there's it still exists as a print media publication, and so the print creates a sort of limited real estate, so to speak, in terms of how much can be in it. You've got like so many pages that you can fill, and the magazine is produced at a certain rate per year. It's not digital where a website where you just keep dumping content on. So I think that there's more kind of thought and there's an editorial hand kind of gatekeeping what's going to go in and what's not, and it can't be throwaway because it has to count. And as the Surfers Journal says, it's more of a book than it is a magazine. So I think there it exists. I mean, I do think that in many ways the digital content has created that, because I think it's like a lot of people, much like a Instagram account, people want a lot of traffic. So it's just like keep throwing stuff up. And then,
obviously designing a fish and adapting fish from one to the next, taking our classic fish and making it fatter and wider and flattered for super groveler, and then refining it a little bit for an everyday board, and having fun with the logos and the adjusting fin placements and all that's super fun and creative. But it's also, there's pressure. You want it to hit, the shops believe in our designs and believe in our creativity, and they buy a bunch of them around the country. You definitely want it to happen. You want it to take off. So then you got to concentrate on marketing, and you get the little cheeseburger and do funny little, skits and film guys ripping on it. And it's all a process, and it's challenging. It's both sides is challenging. Making boards for the hot surfers is very challenging. And yeah, you kind of chase your tail a little because it's always refining or updating or tweaking an existing board. But then when you step back, of that cycle 3 or 4 years and look at a board, you can see that like time or like erosion on a cliff, it slowly changes, and the boards do slowly evolve, which is really interesting. But it takes a little bit of a lens of stepping back over a few years. You're just making baby steps, and then in the market, and that's a lot of more reactionary, and just I'll write a board and go, oh, this thing's great for me and my friends, and I'll fine tune it and make a cool looking, marketable, fun, easy to ride board.
El Patron.
Yeah,
I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, that was a good one.
What does your file look like? You must have a file that's the Matt Biola's file, right? For you personally.
I'm evolving and degrading. My boards just keep getting bigger and fatter. And
what do you ride? What's the smallest board you'll ride?
Well, in the wave pool in Japan, I was riding 6.0 fish. It was like 39 liters, black sheep, epoxy carbon little thing. If I don't have to paddle and fight with the crowd, I mean, I surf one of the most crowded waves in the world. And then when you travel, you go to El Salvador and there's 60 people out.
Yeah.
So in the ocean, I'm riding pretty big boards. I remember watching you at K38s on a giant swell, and you were riding this giant board, and I'm like on a 6.4, and you're just paddling circles and laughing at us all, like gliding in on like some bonzers. And since then, that was Hurricane Marie like 8 years ago, or maybe more, I don't know. Mm-hmm. In that time, I've kind of come to the realization that you were
8x3.
Yeah, 8x3. Yeah, sounds like a canoe, but I was a boat. I can show you later the photo.
I want to see photos.
Yeah, I have it. And so I was pretty much like, what the hell now, 4 days later, the charter boat left, and I was alone, pretty much with nothing. And so I asked the owner of the land to make ladders and hang on the coconut trees in Bahazanias, saying that please return the documents. The money, there was not much, and that was all I had, but I need my ticket out of Indonesia, my ATM card, my photocopy of passport. So he did, and he hang in few of the coconut trees, and nothing. 2 weeks later, they found my bag that was stolen, floating.
The bag that had all of the stuff in it.
Floating on the ocean, and filming. So Mario paddled for the first wave, he couldn't go on it. Paddled for the second one, he couldn't go on it. The third wave he paddled, there is on movie, on video. He take off, straight, bottom turn, went to the lip, turn on the lip, just check turn, drop again, bottom turn, and he got a bear all the way to Terceira.
And this is the first wave that's ever been captured on film here.
Yes, probably, yes.
It must be.
Yeah, it must be, yeah, definitely was.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's cool.
And everybody was screaming, jump on the water. Everybody would jump on the water after that.
Everyone's frothing.
Yeah. And then
By the way, what year is this roughly?
2006.
Oh, six.
Yeah,
2006.
or 5.
I think. Yeah, I think
2000
I was here in like 7.
Funny, I have one of my really good friends, P.D. Johnson. We talk about this stuff a lot. We kind of are in the mix of it all and looking at it all constantly. And we always guys trip out on how much people will put into the potential of their child becoming that's like a huge group of people that are moving here, is the people that want their kids to be pro surfers.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
It's crazy, right?
It's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing. And so those people, or not those people, that whole situation, I
Mhm.
always look at it, I'm like, let's just break it down to like how many people are really making a living from pro surfing. And if
Exact-
you're just taking like, it's literally like in the men's side, it's like
10
I
people.
would call it dozens at most. Like
Yeah.
20, 30, like a real living.
Yeah,
Guys
real
that are
living.
killing
Yeah.
it. The guys killing it, there's 10 of them.
Exactly.
Guys that are like, this is incredible. I'm like wealthy from surfing. There's like 6 to 10.
Yeah.
And then it goes drastically down from those 10 too. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Exactly. It's
And
kind of
then-
like the way our society is there's like a 1% and then there's like a shrink
Totally.
middle class.
Yeah, the middle class barely exists, and there is no lower class in surfing professionally. There's like the lower class is the guy getting a sticker. You know what I mean? Like I got a pair of trunks and a sticker if I was lucky, or I got a deal on my trunks and a sticker.
Yeah. Exactly.
So and in the women's, it's even tighter. Like the women's side of it is even smaller than that. It's shrunken down even lower, and the money is probably pretty good still at the very top, but like the bottom half drops even faster. And so I think it's like as a parent, I would never encourage my kid to be a pro surfer in a million years,
I know.
unless they were like phenomenally talented.
Yeah.
And the problem I see is that many parents think that their kid is A, phenomenally talented, or B, can be coached up to be phenomenally talented, or C, can move here and become phenomenally talented. And so I just wish parents would have a little bit, they're setting their kids up for disappointment,
Totally.
And I feel like that's kind of sad.
It's hard to say no when you're a 16-year-old kid and you're like, Dad, I want to be, I want to be Kelly or whatever, it's like,
Especially if you're a surfer,
exactly.
like as a parent, you know what I mean? You're all, that's my dream. I wish I could have just gotten paid to travel around the world and surf. Like maybe you could do it, son or daughter, So I get it. I mean, I can see that too, but I just feel like it's not very realistic. And especially, I think it's become less and less realistic. And like, what's that pathway? Like go to school, do something else or learn some life skills. I feel like those kids sometimes just are coddled a little bit, where the parents put so much into them being a good surfer that they don't really put much into like the rest of their life and like having a balanced life that is going to lead to happiness down the road. And if you don't have that, then like, and then you don't succeed as a pro surfer, or even if you do succeed as a pro surfer and you don't have like a balance of some sort, I just don't think that you're going to have like that much fulfillment in your life,